What do they call you? Wheels?
With Rogue and Gambit making their way to Marvel Rivals and being happily married, I thought I'd take us through exactly what has brought us to this moment. From their first meeting in 1991, to their love triangles and breakups, to their marriage in 2018, and beyond. So here is Rogue and Gambit's relationship explained. To get started, I think it's important to note something that is often forgotten about when looking at Rogue and Gambit as a couple. Namely that Rogue has an entire publication history prior to Remy LeBeau's existence. The Southern Belle officially debuted as a member of Mystique's Brotherhood of Mutants in Avengers Annual Issue 10 in 1981, before she eventually joined the X-Men in Uncanny X-Men Issue 171 in 1983. Gambit, on the other hand, made his first full appearance in Uncanny X-Men issue 266 in 1990, teaming up with the De-Age Storm to fight the Shadow King and Nanny, before joining the team in Uncanny X-Men Annual issue 14. 7 years and almost 100 issues after Rogue did. Whilst Remy became a member just in time for the X-Men event Extinction Agenda, he wouldn't appear alongside his future wife until the final page of X Factor issue 70. The conclusion to the Muir Island saga in 1991, as Rogue was busy having her own solo adventure in the Savage Land and having a brief romance with Magneto, before she finally made her way to the Scottish island. It's later depicted in the 2018 Rogue and Gambit miniseries that the couple's first meeting did in fact happen during the Muir Island saga event. Whilst possessed by the Shadow King, Rogue crossed paths with Gambit, and after a brief fight, the two made out extensively, with her powers not affecting him whatsoever. They would meet again the next day after the Shadow King had been defeated and Remy would try and make a move. But Rogue, no longer being in control of her powers, stood him up, also not wanting to acknowledge something that to her just felt like mind control. Both Gambit and Rogue are then placed on Cyclops' blue team together for the massive X-Men relaunch of late 1991. Their first on-page interaction happens in Chris Claremont's final issue, X-Men issue 3, where after being brainwashed into following Magneto, the team are lounging on Asteroid M. The pair begin to flirt with each other and the Cajun is already willing to risk being hurt just to make contact with Rogue's skin. This retroactively makes more sense when you consider Rogue and Gambit's first meeting, but again, that hadn't actually been published yet. They have a bit of banter until Rogue suddenly gets scared and confused and ends it, with Wolverine commenting that he thinks she will eventually come to her senses about this attraction. However, their feelings for each other are explored much further in X-Men issue 4, now written by Jim Lee and John Byrne. Here, during the famous basketball scene, Remy and Rogue have a playful back and forth.
Other powers. Oh, ow.
Before he ultimately cheats and uses his powers. He swoops in on Rogue and invites her on a date. The tension between them here is off the charts, and they barely resist kissing each other. She initially says no, but then gets dressed up and goes with him anyway. The rest of the X-Men, being nosy, decide to tail the pair, but before any date can actually happen, they are all ambushed by Omega Red and the Hand. What cock blocks? In X-Men issue 8 by Jim Lee and Scott Lobdell, Rogue and Gambit slowly build up their relationship whilst on a second date, which is actually just a team picnic. But this is swiftly interrupted by the newest X-Man, the time-travelling Bishop, who believes LeBeau to be a traitor to the X-Men in his future. Rogue comes to his defense, trusting that he is on their side. However, later that very same day, a woman comes to the X-Mansion looking to kill Gambit. This is Belladonna Bordeaux, aka Gambit's wife. Yes, Gambit had been married this entire time and didn't say a word. Now, it does turn out that this was actually an arranged marriage between the Thieves Guild and the Assassins Guild, and that Remy had actually been exiled from New Orleans for killing Belladonna's brother in an honor duel, but still, I think he could have let Rogue know something. During a fight with the Brood and Ghost Rider, it's very 90s, Belladonna is seemingly killed, and Gambit professes that he still cares for her as she dies. which all happens right in front of Rogue. This leaves Rogue unsure of her future relationship with the Cajun. During the X-Men event Executioner's Song, Rogue's eyes are damaged in battle and she is temporarily blinded. In Uncanny X-Men issue 297 and X-Men issue 17 respectively, we see Gambit providing Rogue with support and the pair grow closer again, with him holding her and promising that everything will be okay. By X-Men issue 24, written by Fabian Nicieza, which has the famous Rogue Gambit cover, her sight has returned and the pair finally spend a night out in New York for their third date. They actually express their feelings for each other, and whilst they almost kiss, Rogue admits that she is very afraid that she will hurt him with her touch, as she has done to others. Remy maturely promises that he will not kiss her, but states that perhaps together they will learn the real meaning of love, beyond the physical. At this point, Rogue is ready to reveal her real name to him, but he doesn't care, as names don't make a person who they truly are. And after almost 2 years in real time, Rogue and Gambit are finally dating. In Gambit's very first solo series in 1993 by Howard Mackie, his guild brother Henri brings Remy news that Belladonna and her brother are both still alive, before he is murdered by the Assassin's Guild. With this information, Gambit returns to New Orleans, accompanied by Rogue, to discover that Belladonna did indeed survive her encounter with the Brood, but is comatose and about to die. Rogue promises to watch over her as the thief tries his best to find a cure, and while alone with her lover's wife, Rogue contemplates touching Belladonna to experience being with Gambit physically. She ultimately decides against it, but then Belladonna grabs her hand involuntarily, and she absorbs all of her memories of being with the thief, the loving, the touching, and the kissing. After an encounter with his ex, the external Kandra, Gambit is able to revive his wife. But due to Rogue's power, she awakes not remembering anything at all. Notably, in this series, Rogue says "I love you" to Remy for the first time, though he does not hear it. At the wedding of Cyclops and Phoenix in X-Men issue 30, Rogue is the one to catch the bridal bouquet, whilst Remy is the one to catch Jean's garter. Perhaps a sign of the future of their relationship. After the events of his miniseries, Gambit has begun to notice that Rogue has started to say words and phrases that only Belladonna would say, and this disturbs him to the point where he confides in Professor X. Additionally, around this time, Sabretooth had become a prisoner of the X-Men, and in X-Men issue 33, he reveals a part of Remy's dark past to Rogue, where as a teenager, he manipulated a young girl, Genevieve, into falling in love with him just so he could steal a ruby from her. When Sabretooth captured her and forced Gambit to choose between her or his guild brother, he chose Henri, and so she was killed. This disturbs Rogue, but in time they both agree to accept and move on from their past actions. In 1994, Rogue also had a very own miniseries, once again written by Howard Mackie, which was a sequel of sorts to the Gambit series. Every year, Rogue makes a trip to visit Cody Robbins, the boy she shared her first kiss with and left in a coma, as that's when her powers first manifested. However, this year, Cody is kidnapped by the Assassin's Guild on the orders of Belladonna, who seeks revenge against Rogue for stealing her memories. After fighting the assassins with Gambit's help, Rogue and Bella hash it out, and she ultimately wins. Cody, on the other hand, dies in Rogue's arms. But the pair are able to have one final meeting on the astral plane, where Cody reveals that he doesn't blame her at all, and that she should move on with her life, allowing Rogue to continue building her relationship with Remy. In X-Men issue 41, after Legion kills his father, Professor X, in the past, the timeline breaks. And in the present, the X-Men witness the Mcron crystal wave slowly begin to consume everything. In their final moments, Rogue chooses to kiss Gambit for the very first time as the world ends. But for those that don't know, the world didn't actually end, it was just warped into a new reality, the Age of Apocalypse. A universe where mutants ruled America. Magneto led the X-Men, Rogue was his wife, and they had a baby together. In this timeline, Gambit had also dated Rogue previously, but had left the X-Men after he realised that she cared more for Eric. Luckily enough for all of us, the original timeline was restored in mid-1995. However, things weren't so good for our couple. As we learn in X-Men Prime, written by Scott Lobdell and Fabian Nicieza, the kiss they shared put Gambit into a coma, with Rogue absorbing his memories and fleeing in fear of what she was experiencing. Iceman kept an eye on her, and in X-Men issue 45, after recovering, Gambit tracks Rogue down to a location of his past, the theatre where he made a deal with a particular X-Men villain. Rogue is driven crazy by Remy's memories, feeling the guilt and the shame of something that he had done, but not understanding exactly what he had done. Despite her urging, he cannot bring himself to reveal his dark secret. He does offer Rogue the chance to absorb his memories again instead, but she refuses, believing that whatever they had was obviously not enough for him to be truly honest with her. I believe this is the first time that Gambit outright says, "I love you," to Rogue, and she says it back, but that does not stop her from ending their relationship and leaving the X-Men for some time. Gambit, on the other hand, remained a member of the X-Men despite Rogue's absence. Rogue next appears in 1996's X-Men Unlimited issue 11 by Terry Kavanagh and Scott Lobdell, where after she's kidnapped by Bastion's forces, she is rescued by Joseph, who was believed to be a de-aged, morally good amnesiac Magneto, and the pair travel to New York just in time for Onslaught. Rogue is 1000% attracted to him, as he is everything she had hoped Magneto would be during their romance in the Savage Land. In Avengers 401 by Mark Waid, Rogue and Gambit see each other for the first time since she left him, and the trio end up fighting side by side with the Avengers and the X-Men against Onslaught, the psychic combo of Xavier's dark side and Magneto's rage. Don't worry about it, it's really not important here. Gambit remains wary of Joseph, particularly due to his obvious affection for Rogue. And whilst they have reunited, the former couple are once again not sure where they stand with each other. With Joseph officially joining the X-Men in issue 55, a love triangle is born between the Southern Belle, the Cajun, and the good Magneto. In X-Men issue 58, Gambit and Joseph come to physical blows over Rogue, which she just finds pathetic, and the tension between them continues to grow throughout the books. Joseph makes his attraction to Rogue more and more apparent, and Gambit becomes more and more jealous, still not trusting that Joseph won't revert back to his old Magneto ways. In the 1997 X-Men Annual, Joseph comes across Remy and Rogue completely in love and kissing without any issues, and he found himself feeling quite jealous. But he soon realises, due to that and other things, that the X-Men have been placed under a perfect illusion by the Games Master, and the trio defeat him, though all three are left with the memories of this perfect reality that they could have had. Later, in Uncanny X-Men issue 341, on Christmas Eve, Gambit rebuffs Rogue's attempts to reconcile, so Joseph takes her to the top of the New York City skyline and shows her an invention that neutralizes her powers temporarily, and he kisses her forehead. A group of X-Men, including this love triangle trio, are then dragged into space to help the Shi'ar against the Phalanx. During this story, in Uncanny X-Men issue 343, Rogue is being briefly assimilated into the alien species when she openly admits that she still loves Gambit, and then he comes to her rescue, where he openly admits that his life would mean nothing without her. When they return to Earth, they crash land in the Savage Land and are captured by Magneto's former robot servant Nanny, who has gone crazy and neutralizes all of their powers. With this obstacle of no touch gone, in Uncanny X-Men issue 348, Rogue and Gambit decide to spend the night together and have sex for the very first time. Congrats. Now, not to be a spoilt sport, but the good times don't last, as in Uncanny X-Men issue 350, now written by Steven Seagal, Gambit is placed on trial and he finally reveals his dark secret. That he worked for Mr. Sinister and recruited the Marauders that would be responsible for the mutant massacre, the slaughter of the Morlocks, and the near-fatal injuries of Colossus, Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, and Angel. Rogue is forced to absorb his memories once again, and disgusted with what she sees, she abandons Remy in Antarctica to die. In Uncanny X-Men issue 361, we learn that Rogue has actually flown to Antarctica several times in search of Gambit, feeling guilty, but she has, so far, found no trace of him whatsoever. But fear not, a Storm and Shadowcat cross paths with Gambit in South Korea, and they convince him to return to the Institute. In the subsequent X-Men issue 81, written by Joe Kelly, Rogue and Gambit reunite and have a conversation while beating a nobody villain. And I'm not even being mean, this is literally her only appearance. Rogue struggles with the guilt of leaving him behind, but the Cajun explains that she absorbed his self-hate alongside his memory, and that's what drove her to abandon him. So he doesn't hate her at all. Whilst they seem to be repairing their relationship, Gambit is not able to bring himself to say "I love you" back to her, which is never a good thing. Unbeknownst to Rogue, this was actually due to a green energy being which had bonded to the X-Man and was extremely jealous, threatening to kill Rogue if he ever touched her again. They hit a rough patch as he is essentially being held hostage, but it is eventually revealed that the energy being, a mutant named Mary, merged with Gambit in Antarctica, and that was how he survived that wasteland. And ever since, she's been extremely possessive over him. In the 1999 Gambit Annual, written by Fabian Nicieza, Rogue and the X-Men assist him in excising the obsessive ghost from his body, and the two reconcile once more. Also around this time, Joseph learns that he is actually a clone of Magneto and not the real deal. And then during the 1999 event Magneto War, Joseph sacrifices himself, restoring Earth's electromagnetic field after the real Magneto tried to destroy it, ending the love triangle for good. Rogue and Gambit continue their off-on status for some time, and in Gambit Volume 3, Issue 16, written by Fabian Nicieza, his powers have evolved to create an energy field around his body, meaning that the pair can kiss without pain or death, which they obviously relish. But over the course of a few weeks, Gambit loses control of his powers, and they clash over their secrets and their trust issues, and they ultimately call it quits on their relationship again. In the year 2000, Chris Claremont returned to the X-Men in the Revolution era, and the teams were restructured after a 6-month time jump. Rogue led the X-Men team, whilst Gambit led the Uncanny X-Men. In X-Men issue 100, Rogue shares a kiss with Colossus whilst in his armoured form, and doesn't absorb his powers or personality, contrary to previous instances. This was intended to be the start of a relationship between the two characters, but this was quickly and quietly dropped and never mentioned again. Later, on a mission in Uncanny X-Men issue 385, Rogue's team comes to the rescue of Gambit's team, and they once again are back in a relationship. But just 4 months later, in X-Men issue 109, Storm assembles a select team of X-Men for a mission to locate Destiny's Diaries, completely separate from the Institute and Charles Xavier. Rogue is enlisted, but Gambit is not, and she prevents him from joining as she's afraid that her new extremely haywire powers, where she randomly manifests powers she's previously absorbed, could seriously hurt him. However, in Claremont's new Extreme X-Men title in 2001, it's not long before Gambit and Rogue are together again. 5 issues to be exact. and Remy joins the team. But then he is kidnapped and uses a battery to teleport an alien army to invade Earth. During the battle, Rogue tries to free Gambit from his imprisonment, but then a villain known as Vargas stabs a sword through both of the lovers' bodies. Rogue survives due to Wolverine's healing factor, but Gambit is on the brink of death. Then, in Extreme X-Men issue 18, Jean Grey enables Rogue to talk to him on the astral plane, and whilst Remy is at peace and ready to go to the light, she does all she can to force him to return to the living, literally stopping him from dying. After that, in Extreme X-Men issue 19, the pair discover that both of their powers have been completely neutralized after the traumatic events, and so they decide to leave the X-Men to build a fresh start together as humans. The couple then are the spotlight of Extreme X-Men Expose issue 2, which sees Rogue and Gambit grapple with being human and not having their powers as they move to California. 12 issues later, in Extreme X-Men issue 31, the remaining members of the team pay Rogue a visit in California, who has since established herself as a mechanic, whilst Gambit is still being a thief and is actually breaking into the White House with Storm. During this Gambit and Storm adventure, they also share very intimate moments, including a very passionate kiss, though Remy does explain that Rogue will always have his heart. By the end of that book, in early 2004, Rogue's absorption power had returned and Sage had jump-started Gambit's abilities, just in time for them to rejoin the Xavier Institute, now a proper school, and Havoc's team in X-Men issue 157, written by Chuck Austen. On their very first mission, in X-Men issue 158, in a freak accident, one of Gambit's cards explodes in his face and he is blinded. Once again unable to touch his girlfriend and now unable to see, something he blames Rogue for, their relationship is really strained. Around this time, in Rogue's third solo series by Robert Roddy, Gambit follows Rogue on a solo mission and stumbles upon a dream psychic realm known as Fairbanks. Gambit is given the choice between a dream Rogue that he can see while blind and touch, or the real Rogue, which he can neither see nor touch. And he obviously chooses the real Rogue, despite everything. Also, Rogue's name is officially revealed to be Anna Marie in this series and begins using it periodically. Then in X-Men issue 165, Sage uses her jumpstart abilities again to heal Remy's eyes. Somehow. Now written by Peter Milligan in the X-Men series, Rogue and Gambit are repeatedly put through the ringer in this era. First, a psychic alien creature manipulates everyone at the Institute, and Logan and Rogue make out in X-Men issue 169. Meanwhile, in Gambit's fourth solo series by Robert Lehman, in a moment of weakness, he sleeps with another woman. This comes back to haunt him in issue 10, when video footage of Gambit cheating is posted to Rogue in an attempt to break Gambit and Rogue up. With help from some students, Remy manages to steal the evidence before his girlfriend ever finds out, and this is literally never mentioned again. But it seemed crazy enough to include in this video. Then, in X-Men issues 171 to 174, the couple decide to seek help for their relationship problems from unofficial sex therapist Emma Frost. However, even on the astral plane, Rogue absorbs Remy's form, which is really unhelpful. On top of that, a new student, Fox, enrolls at the school and immediately tries to seduce Gambit, her teacher. Whilst he does not cheat on Rogue this time, in a crazy twist, it's revealed that Fox is actually Mystique, Rogue's mother in disguise, who wanted to break up Anna and Remy by sleeping with her daughter's boyfriend. I guess that would work. Mystique then introduces the X-Men to Pulse, a mutant Robin Hood whose power neutralizes other mutants' powers, and presents him as a better man for her daughter. He is welcome to the mansion, but Rogue is not interested. After M-Day, where the Scarlet Witch depowers 99% of all mutants, Rogue and Gambit both retain their powers. But the intense situations of the decimation and the new One Sentinels turning up at the X Mansion puts things into perspective, and they're back to a positive place in their relationship again, which lasts all of 2 minutes as then Apocalypse arrives, claiming to offer salvation for all remaining mutants in X-Men issue 182. Whilst the X-Men fight his horsemen, Gambit snuck into Apocalypse's headquarters to offer himself as a horseman, thinking that he could take them all down from the inside. Unfortunately, Gambit's new persona as Death is too powerful and overwhelms him, and he tries to kill his lover in X-Men issue 187, only being stopped by Pulse, who wiped his powers temporarily. Gambit departs with his fellow horsemen Sunfire, and Rogue, rightfully traumatized, swears off romance entirely. In a reversal to what happened a decade prior, Anna Marie stays with the X-Men and leads her own team featuring Sabretooth, Mystique and Lady Mastermind, now written by Mike Carey. Whilst Gambit overcomes his Death persona with help from Mr. Sinister and joins his Marauders as a thank you. Following that, in the Milestone X-Men issue 200, Rogue's team is betrayed by Mystique, who shoots her point blank, and then Anna Marie is kidnapped by the new Marauders, which includes Gambit. During the Messiah Complex crossover, Mystique, with help from Gambit, uses the baby mutant Messiah to heal Rogue of all of her issues. Don't worry about it. When Rogue wakes up, she touches Mystique as punishment for trying to sacrifice a baby, but soon learns that the baby actually cleansed all the other memories and psyches in Rogue's head. Gambit is happy to see his love alive and well, but now that Mystique, and only Mystique, is trapped in her head, Rogue wants to be left alone and departs for Australia. In the retitled X-Men Legacy, issue 220 by Mike Carey, the sentient Danger Room Danger finds Rogue in Australia, but is then attacked by Shi'ar bandits, which causes her to envelop the town in holograms, and Rogue is forced to come face to face with her past. When Charles Xavier and Gambit turn up and help recalibrate Danger, the AI ally diagnoses the problem that has been preventing Rogue from having control over her powers. The previous trauma from Miss Marvel and Cody meant that they had just never developed past the initial stage. Xavier and Danger resolve the mental blocks, and Rogue is finally, for the first time, able to control her abilities, testing them out by kissing Gambit. In X-Men Legacy issue 224. Rogue and Gambit spend some time together in Australia before they make their way to the X-Men's new home of San Francisco per Cyclops' request. During the event Necrotia, Rogue is part of a team that travels to Muir Island alongside Magneto, who has recently reformed and rejoined the X-Men. He makes it clear to Rogue that he still has feelings for her and thinks fondly of their time together in the Savage Land, though she completely rebukes him. This is further complicated in X-Men Legacy issue 234, where Rogue absorbs some telepathy and learns a bit too much about everyone. She admits to Gambit that she's been avoiding him for some time because to her, he represents not having control, and she does not want to lose control again. But she still has feelings for Remy, and accidentally broadcasts her most private thoughts about him to the entirety of Utopia. Awkward. She then argues with Magneto, but then accidentally creates a telepathic feedback loop which amplifies his feelings for her, and they kiss. Double awkward. When Legion warps reality into the Age of X, a universe where mutants are constantly at war with invading humans, Rogue is known as Reaper, taking on the task of absorbing mutants in their final moments so that they can be immortalized through her. Here, she also has strong feelings for the leader of the fortress, Eric, but on a mission to uncover the truth about this reality, she's aided by Gambit, and they also share a kiss. And with this, a new love triangle is born. Once reality is restored, Rogue chooses not to have her memories erased as a testament to the deceased, but this causes her to reevaluate her feelings for both men. And in X-Men Legacy issue 249, she ultimately chooses Magneto. With the schism between Cyclops and Wolverine dividing mutants, after much deliberation and back and forth, in X-Men Legacy issues 259 and 260, Rogue decides to return to Westchester and the Jean Grey School to become a teacher. And Gambit follows. But he keeps his distance, even sharing a kiss with Frenzy in X-Men Legacy issue 260.1 by Christos Gage. Though Frenzy soon realises that Remy is still hung up over Rogue and their relationship doesn't progress any further. Magneto remains with Cyclops on Utopia, but Anna and Eric continue their relationship long distance. However, Rogue notably has very little contact with her new non-boyfriend, and they do not properly interact with each other again until after the Avengers vs X-Men crisis in X-Men Legacy issue 274. Aiding with the recovery efforts from Cyclops' Dark Phoenix moment, Rogue is greeted by Magneto, who wishes to clarify their relationship and make things official. She gives it some thought, but ultimately turns down his offer and ends their romance. Meanwhile, in Gambit's 5th solo series by James Asmus, he gives Anna more space by going on heists, where he falls for fellow thief Joelle. They have a chemistry and a brief romance, but she remains elusive about her motives and her history. Rogue shows up to confront her ex-boyfriend on his new criminal activity and even meets Joelle, helping them escape from Tombstone in Gambit issue 11. It turns out that Joelle was gifted with eternal life, but chooses to end it to be reunited with her daughter, leaving Gambit very upset. Additionally, Rogue comes to his rescue again in the Gambit series finale, alongside the Uncanny Avengers, where she wishes for him to join her as an Avenger. He rejects this though, and instead becomes the new Guildmaster of the Thieves Guild. Then in the Astonishing X-Men series by Marjorie Liu, Remy has a casual relationship with fellow X-Man Cecilia Reyes, which becomes official in Astonishing X-Men issue 68. But this is never mentioned again, where she wishes for him to join her as an Avenger. Yes, you heard me right. With the Marvel Now relaunch of 2012, Rogue becomes an Avenger by joining the Unity Squad led by Captain America and Havoc, a coalition to heal human and mutant divisions. This is a brand new era for Rogue, but a dark age for Remy. She remains an Avenger through various Uncanny Avengers volumes, and slowly becomes absent from the X-Men titles. During this period, Anna Marie has a brief dalliance with the Human Torch after he just broke up with Medusa of the Inhumans, and even develops feelings for Deadpool of all people. Oh, and she loses control of her powers again. Concurrently, the King of Thieves joins the corporate X-Factor team in the all-new X-Factor series by Peter David, where he shows an attraction to Polaris and has an affair with his boss's wife, but he does not cross paths with his ex. In Uncanny Avengers Volume 3 Issue 5, Rogue comes across Gambit attempting to steal Red Skull's fortune. They find nothing, and before Anna leaves, she tries to kiss Remy goodbye, but he rejects her because he does not want to catch the mutant Mpox disease from her, which obviously upsets Rogue. Now, if you think this is a bit harsh from Gambit, well, this is actually the Red Skull in disguise who successfully escapes undetected, and he only deepens the rift between the two exes. Though in a later issue, Rogue realises that Gambit was actually Red Skull in disguise and forgives the real Gambit. It takes a whole 4 years for Rogue and Gambit to actually appear together on a team book again, this time in the 4th series of Astonishing X-Men in 2017 by Charles Soule. Under attack by the Shadow King, Psylocke recruits various nearby X-Men to help her, including these two. Rogue ignores Gambit's flirting, especially because she no longer has control of her powers, but on the astral plane they do rekindle their connection somewhat. However, the recently resurrected Charles Xavier mind wipes everyone involved to keep his return a secret, so they don't even remember this. After Rogue rejoins her family and briefly leads a secondary X-Men team in X-Men Gold issue 23. In 2018 comes the Rogue and Gambit miniseries by Kelly Thompson. and this is a major moment for the both of them. Due to their emotional baggage with each other, Kitty Pryde enlists Remy and Anna to go undercover at a private therapy retreat where mutants have gone missing, much to Rogue's dismay. Over the course of the series, they go through actual therapy, reliving and addressing moments from their past, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Plus, at this resort, their powers are slowly drained, which means that they can be intimate with each other, and they ultimately restart their relationship. I'd argue the main takeaway from this is best put by Rogue, stating that their entire relationship has been a mess from day one. Yet this experience has given her the understanding that there will never be a perfect time for them. It will always be messed up, but she will take messed up with Remy LeBeau anytime. And with that, Remy is back on. Following this, in X-Men Gold issue 30 by Mark Guggenheim, Kitty Pryde and Colossus are getting married. But in a soap opera twist that was suggested by fellow writer Donny Cates, Kitty ditches Piotr at the altar, leaving the wedding without a couple. After their strong reconciliation, Remy LeBeau seizes the moment and proposes to Anna Marie, who says yes. And with that, 26 years after their very first date, we see the impromptu wedding of Rogue and Gambit, who proudly showcase their love for each other. Also, Rogue wears an inhibitor collar here, just so that she can kiss her husband on her wedding day. Kelly Thompson then continues their journey in the Mr. and Mrs. X series, which follows them on their honeymoon. Deciding not to go to a resort after the events of their miniseries, they instead decide to spend it in space. But it does not stay romantic for long, as Kitty Pryde interrupts with an urgent mission involving Charles Xavier's daughter, Deadpool, a fake death, and Rogue's powers evolving so that she can absorb people without touching them. In issue 6, Anna moves into her husband's New York apartment with his 3 cats, and they host a party. Both of their respective exes, Belladonna and Magneto, show up to discuss the surprise wedding, but everything is left on good terms for the time being. After this, Rogue and Gambit are dragged into the Mojoverse, where they are forced to play out love story scenarios. Yet each time, Rogue kills Gambit with her newly amplified powers. Ultimately though, in Mr. and Mrs. X issue 9, with some help from Spiral, Rogue addresses her traumas and fears and is able to regain control of her abilities herself, something she retains to this very day. And let's just say they make up for lost time. With the creation of the mutant nation state of Krakoa in 2019, Rogue and Gambit are 2 of the many mutants that move to the island and call it home, and they become key members in Excalibur Volume 4 by Teenie Howard. One of the sacred laws of Krakoa is make more mutants, and this has been playing on Rogue's mind a lot. She's had fears that now she's married, everyone will expect her and Remy to have a baby. But she's thought about it and decided that's not what she wants. Not now, and maybe not ever. And her husband, like any good partner, respects her wish. Throughout Excalibur, the Southern Belle and the Cajun are pulled from their comfort zone into the weird land of Otherworld. Until, in X-Men issue 21, written by Jonathan Hickman, at the very first Hellfire Gala, Rogue is voted onto the main X-Men team by the public. In X-Men issue 9, written by Jerry Duggan, the couple are doing reconnaissance work for the team when they stumble upon Destiny, Rogue's other mother that has recently been resurrected. In the first on-panel interaction between mother and son-in-law, we see just how disappointed Irene is that Gambit is her daughter's husband, and she is not subtle about it at all. When I found out Rogue married a bumpkin from the bayou, I asked them to kill me again, and that really says it all. Whilst Anna Marie is busy with the X-Men, Remy continues his adventures with Captain Britain as one of her knights trapped in Otherworld. However, Gambit is murdered by Merlin in Knights of X issue 3. As Otherworld messes with the resurrection, it's feared that the Gambit we know might be truly dead. However, he is resurrected by magic and Omega level matter manipulation in issue 5, and his wife is the first person to welcome him back to the living. The duo then get their own miniseries again, this time written by Stephanie Phillips in 2023. Given a mission by Destiny to locate and hide Manifold for the greater good of mutant kind, Rogue and Gambit end up in a battle with the Power Broker. Don't worry about it. What's more important is the B-plot, all about Remy struggling with his recent death in Otherworld. Since then he has become distant, reliant on alcohol, and pretty non-communicative with his wife. Though, as per usual, these issues are resolved by the end of the series. Rogue and Gambit both survive Orcus' attack on the 3rd Hellfire Gala, and during the Full of X era, Anna Marie rejoins the Uncanny Avengers to fight Nazi Steve Rogers, whilst Remy LeBeau joins Madeline Pryor's very own Dark X-Men to face the magic forces of Orcus. They do ultimately reunite just in time for the final battle against Orcus and Nimrod, and to witness the end of the first Krakoan age. Following this, Mr. and Mrs. X have a second honeymoon in Mexico City in the final pages of Uncanny X-Men issue 700, and that takes us all the way to the current From the Ashes era. Now written by Gail Simone in the 7th Uncanny X-Men series, the couple establish a base at Haven House in Louisiana. Alongside Wolverine, Nightcrawler and Jubilee, they become a brand new team of X-Men. Yet on their doorstep arrive 4 young New Mutants, known as the Outliers. Brought together for a mysterious reason, and on the run from a literal monster, Rogue, Gambit and the others house these teenagers, and over time they have all become very close, with Anna and Remy sort of being surrogate parents to them all. In particular to Calico, who, as we see in the future, literally refers to Gambit as her father. In fact, in the most recent Uncanny X-Men issue 26, both Anna and Remy have expressed a desire to adopt the Outliers as their legal children someday, which I feel like is a natural progression of their story. And that's where we find them now, happier and more in love than ever, and surrounded by a newly extended family. So that's the entirety of Rogue and Gambit's relationship explained in one single video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like to let me know, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And in the comments, let me know what you think about Rogue and Gambit as a couple, and tell me what your favourite Remy moment is over their 34-year history. I think mine might have to be them becoming an official couple in X-Men issue 24. With that though, I'll see you all in the next video.